Well, looking at my clock, it looks like we are right at 10:30, which is when we said we would start. Just before we get started, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping here. My name is Eric Leitner. I'm a communication specialist with the Department of Public Safety. First off, you're going to hear from Shannon Graybo, and she is with the Office of Traffic Safety, Principal State Program Administrator. She will be followed by Colonel Kristina Bogoyevich with the Minnesota State Patrol. Then Commander Ellison with St. Paul PD will give his remarks. And finally, Lisa Kahns is going to finish up for everyone here. She is the Traffic Safety and Advocacy Director with the Minnesota Safety Council. They're all going to share their work on this important issue. Afterwards, after everyone's planned remarks, you will have an opportunity to ask questions. All I ask is that you say your name and which media outlet you are with, so that we can follow up if there's need for that afterwards. And with that, I will hand it over to Shannon. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm sure every one of us here could share a story about a distracted driver they've seen on the roads in the past month. Probably more than one. And let's be honest, it's not just frustrating, it's downright aggravating as people seem completely oblivious to their surroundings as they drive slow, drive fast, weave into your lane, slow into your lane, almost hitting you, or even stopped at a green light. That's why the Minnesota Department of Public Safety is coordinating the Extra Enforcement and Education campaign throughout the month of April. During past campaigns, citations included a driver texting while in a school zone while children were in the area, a driver using a phone for a court hearing over Zoom, and a driver watching a Netflix series on their phone. The law enforcement vehicles you see behind me are funded by a grant from the Office of Traffic Safety. They're much more than just this effort today. They're specialized vehicles that give officers better visibility to see these dangerous driving behaviors. Many of them are equipped with cameras on both sides of the vehicles to be able to see inside the vehicle. Agencies use these vehicles for education tools as well. They promote public safe driving at community events, in schools, and their local businesses. The goal is simple: educate drivers, stop distracted behavior, and make our roads safer. With us today are law enforcement agencies from Blaine, Brooklyn Park, Eagan, Elk River, Orono, Richfield, St. Paul, and Washington County. In Minnesota, drivers can only use their cell phone with voice commands or one-touch activation without holding their phone. If you kill someone while violating the hands-free law, you can face a felony, criminal vehicular operation, or even homicide. Drivers need to understand that multitasking behind the wheel is a myth. It simply doesn't work. Distracted driving isn't just careless, it's simply selfish and dangerous. It steals lives and leaves others with debilitating injuries. The consequences are real and irreversible. Every moment of distraction is a gamble with someone's life that simply isn't worth it. In 2024, preliminary numbers show that distracted driving contributed to 29 deaths, and that number doesn't even include the month of December. As alarming as these numbers are, distracted driving is difficult to investigate, so these numbers are often underreported, which means these numbers are likely much higher. With that, I welcome Colonel Kristina Bogoyevich.
Thank you. I'm just going to adjust the volume a little bit since the folks here in person are having a little trouble hearing. So, thank you. And Colonel, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Kristina Bogoyevich, and I have the honor of serving as the Colonel of the Minnesota State Patrol. Everyone who drives can probably relate to the feeling, the call of their device while they are on the road. But in law enforcement, we are very aware of just how deadly taking your hands off the wheel and eyes off the road can be. Too often, when one of these tragedies occur, the driver tells us they only looked away for a second. But that split-second distraction can lead to a lifetime of loss, consequences, and regret. When you get behind the wheel, take a moment to prepare for the most important task you'll be doing. Avoid eating messy foods, set up your hands-free phone, or better yet, put it away, so it doesn't tempt you to pick it up. Set your GPS directions and set the radio. Doing these things can save lives. There is no excuse for driving distracted. Nothing on your phone is worth a life. When we're behind the wheel, we must focus on one task, and that is safe driving. And when you are riding with someone who is driving distracted, speak up. Tell them to stop or offer to be the designated driver. For drivers who refuse to take the steps to be safe, we'll be watching to stop you. Troopers, deputies, and officers will be working overtime shifts to keep people safe. And the law enforcement pickups and SUVs you see here today are valuable additional tools for education, enforcement, and safety. We know there are many drivers out there not getting this message. Last year, 48,278 drivers were ticketed for being distracted behind the wheel. So far this year, we have already issued 5,461 citations or warnings involving distracted driving. That's a 4% increase compared to the same time period last year. Getting caught will cost you $100 or more, including court fees for a first offense, $300 or more, including court fees for a second or subsequent offense. But the one thing you can't put a price on is your life or the life of another innocent person if you cause a deadly, distracted driving crash. Thank you for attending and paying attention when you drive. Now I will pass to Commander Ellison for his remarks.
Thank you, Colonel. I'm proud to say that the St. Paul Police Department is stepping up with both enforcement and innovation. Today, I'm excited to highlight our new traffic safety vehicle. As Shannon mentioned earlier, this vehicle was received through a grant from the Minnesota Office of Traffic Safety last year. It not only enhances our ability to do hands-free enforcement, but it also serves as a mobile platform for public education. In my role as the commander of the Traffic and Pedestrian Safety Unit, I see firsthand how distracted driving impacts our community, our friends, our family, our neighbors, and especially our children. I'd like to share a recent example of how distracted driving can lead to life-altering events. Not just for the victim of a crash, but also for the driver who chooses to not drive hands-free. On March 9th, 2025, at approximately 7:30 p.m., a 16-year-old was driving on Shepherd Road near Ontario Street in St. Paul. She became distracted by an alert on her cell phone. In that moment, her decision to check her phone changed both her life and the life of the pedestrian that she struck. She never intended to cause harm, but that single distraction turned into a tragedy, underscoring the devastating impact of not paying full attention on the road. Fortunately, the crash was not fatal, but it will have lifelong impacts on both of those individuals involved. This incident is a stark reminder of how crucial it is to drive hands-free and how life can change in an instant. As you heard earlier from the Colonel, the statistics reinforce the urgency of addressing distracted driving. The data shows that while our enforcement efforts are rigorous, the problem persists. Please put down your phone. Please slow down. If you don't, we will be writing you a ticket. We are offering media ride-alongs today in our new traffic safety vehicle, and we would invite you to come see firsthand how our team works to keep Minnesota's roads safe. Thank you. Now I will turn it over to Lisa Kahns from the Minnesota Safety Council.
Good morning. Thank you, Shannon, Jeremy, and Colonel, for your powerful remarks. We are thrilled to host our partners today to kick off Distracted Driving Awareness Month in April. I would like to start by having you ask yourself the next time you get behind the wheel. If someone is watching, what would they see? Are you on the phone, fiddling with your dashboard or touchscreen, eating, or distracted in some other way? This April, during Distracted Driving Awareness Month, the Minnesota Safety Council, in partnership with State Farm, is taking action to make Minnesota roads safer. Today, we are proud to introduce an innovative statewide campaign for employers, aimed at reminding drivers that their actions behind the wheel have real consequences for their loved ones. The campaign's core message is clear. Do it for them. Slow down, pay attention, because they need you. Whether it's a child, a partner, a friend, or a colleague, safe driving protects the people who matter most to you, and it protects you for those that care most about you. To support employers in helping spread this critical message, we are providing a comprehensive suite of free turnkey, ready-to-use materials that include educational tools and resources, graphics, social media template posts, email messages, and new ready-to-share videos. We invite businesses across Minnesota to join us in this life-saving effort, utilizing these materials to reinforce safe driving habits among their workforce. Together, we can reduce crashes, prevent injuries, and ensure more Minnesotans make it home safe after every trip. For more information and to access these ready-to-use resources, please visit drivesafemn.org. I would like to thank all of our law enforcement who came early to set up these safety vehicles. Now, let's go ahead and take time to light them up.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our planned remarks for today. If you have any questions, please let me know and we can answer them at the podium.
Question to a colonel, please.
Colonel?
Public radio. We've had 3 fatal pedestrian incidents. That's a little alarming, right?
We have seen an increase in fatal crashes involving pedestrians. I don't have information on those that occurred this morning. I think what we need to remember, though, is that these families just found out that they've lost a loved one in a crash, and we need to remember that and do everything we can to drive safely, including hands-free. Commander, if you want to take that one?
Also, quick more on
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So, for those who didn't hear, the question was, and I'm paraphrasing here, but how distracted driving impacts people on the roads, right? And just
how often do you hear excuses? I wasn't on my phone and how my
yeah. So the question is, how often do you hear excuses? I wasn't on my phone. How often do people try to say they weren't actually driving distracted?
Good morning again. So the question was, how often do we hear excuses? I was working a traffic safety shift yesterday. I stopped 3 different people in less than an hour who were on their phone while they were driving. None of them denied being on their phone. One of them told me she was changing the radio station. One of them told me she was looking up directions, and the other one told me she was answering a phone call. So people are aware of it, and they're making a conscious decision to do those things while they're driving, and it's not safe. We really need people to put their phones down and pay attention to driving. The crashes that we see, the Colonel and I have both mentioned instances of this, are unacceptable, they're avoidable, and we need people to drive safely and put their phones down. I would say in the beginning maybe, but this law has been around for a few years now, and most people, when I stop them, they understand that Minnesota is a hands-free state. That means you can't have the phone in your hand for any reason, no matter what you're doing when you're driving. So people are aware of that when I stop them. Very few people tell me they weren't aware that they couldn't do that. I will say though, in the beginning, you're right, we did have a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm just using GPS. Well, you can't use GPS with the phone in your hand while you're driving.
The question was whether or not we're enforcing this, and I think, as I mentioned before, we've seen a 4% increase this year already in citations issued, but it's more than just law enforcement. It's all of us working together to ensure the roadways are safe. Law enforcement can't do it alone, drivers can't do it alone, we have to do this together.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that a little bit too. This is a community concern. We all need to come together and work together to solve this problem. People are making conscious decisions to use their phone when they're driving, and we really need to change the culture in our society and get people to put that phone down.
This driving distracted affects people statewide. I don't think it matters where you're from. All of us can recall a fatal crash that has involved a distracted driver. So it doesn't matter if you're in the metro or if you're in greater Minnesota. Risk-taking behind the wheel is dangerous, and it has the opportunity to take lives. And so again, it doesn't matter if you're in the metro or if you're in greater Minnesota. We all need to take this seriously.
And the map that you see right behind us, that represents all of the traffic safety vehicles that were funded by a grant through the Office of Traffic Safety. So that is where they're located and where they will be. We hope to continue doing this program in the future, but right now that's where they exist.
Yep, if there's no more questions, thank you everyone. Like we said, St. Paul will be offering ride-alongs for a little bit here, so if you're interested, please just ask. And again, thank you so much for attending and spreading the word about this important issue. Thank you.